Welcome to our 5 on 5. We're pleased to welcome back Oregon Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum. Good to see you. Thanks so much for being here.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me back.
My pleasure. So you were quoted recently as saying, in Oregon, as across the nation, drug sentencing laws, which often impose felony sentences for the possession of even a small amount of drugs, have fallen hardest on our diverse communities, and this outdated approach often deprives those struggling with drug addiction of the housing, jobs, and other opportunities necessary to overcome their addiction without providing the treatment they desperately need. So how is your decision to stop prosecuting for possession of small amounts of narcotics being received by law enforcement and our judges?
It was actually law enforcement that proposed it. I was actually joining the chiefs and the sheriffs in their announcement that they were supporting the defelonization of drug possession. Need to be clear that that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about decriminalization, but I believe that the proposal would be to change the law so that if it's mere possession and no other serious charges along with that of drugs, then the proposal would be to go with misdemeanors rather than felonies, which often is what ends up happening now anyway. A lot of cases are reduced to misdemeanors. Actually, quite a few of them, excuse me, are diverted, which means that they end up actually not with a conviction at all if they complete various probations and other conditions of probation. So actually, it's not really all that different from what we currently have in a lot of counties. This would be statewide, though, for the first time. I haven't heard any reaction from judges.
Okay, and what have you heard from everyday citizens, those who aren't in the criminal justice system?
Really haven't heard anything because it hasn't even been proposed yet. This is just kind of on the drawing board. There's going to be a proposal, I think, submitted to the legislature for review by legislative council in the next couple of weeks, probably. So it's really in the early phases. But I think that we'll get a lot of support for it. There is demonstrated evidence now that there's a disparity in terms of treatment at sentencing, and then, of course, all the collateral effects, consequences of, and not only at sentencing, but in the original prosecuting decisions, and maybe even at the front end in the stops that occur on our streets with regard to racial and ethnic disparities. So I think it's going to be a really important change in the way that we treat people in our state, and I think that the public will embrace that.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll cover Oregon and the deal that was made there with Oracle.
Sure.
Stay with us. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, we're here with Oregon Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum. You're running for re-election. Your opponent, Daniel Crowe, says you've accepted a bad deal with Oracle over the Cover Oregon debacle. How do you respond to that?
The deal is an excellent deal. The state could benefit greatly, will benefit greatly by the deal because it gives the state the opportunity to have essentially free software for the next 6 years, along with free servicing of that software, which is worth at least $60 million and potentially hundreds of millions of dollars if the state takes full advantage of the deal that we made with Oracle. So we're pretty pleased with it. I'm not sure where he's coming from on that.
Okay. Your Public Records Task Force is working to really speed up the process when media is trying to get public records. What led you to work on that?
Well, I started my interest in public records back in 1976 when I handled a really important case that went up to the Court of Appeals, which basically decided an issue that's still being quoted for or cited for today, and that is the issue of the release of closed records of criminal investigations, and it decided favorably to transparency. So I've been interested in this issue for a long, long time, and when I became Attorney General, realized, of course, my predecessor had attempted to get a major bill past our legislature and had really failed. So I wanted to do it right, and I put together a group. I have a fabulous task force, very well represented with media, with government agencies, with public members, and I think we have some really strong recommendations on having some deadlines for the first time ever in our public records law, having hopefully more emphasis on keeping costs down, cataloging the 500 exemptions that we have, and I'm going to offer to continue to be involved in that so that we can reduce the exemptions down as appropriate. We have a lot of overlap in them. There's just so many issues that we need to raise, but we need to do it in a more careful and incremental fashion than my predecessor did. So that's what I'm looking at.
What's been your biggest accomplishment so far as Attorney General?
When I came in, the office really needed somebody that had the leadership potential to bring the office back to the gold standard that Dave Frohnmeyer and some of my predecessors had established. I really feel pleased that I have a great team, that I have a wonderful office, and that I've been able not only to lead well and manage well, but that I've been able to really become what I was hoping, and that is the People's Attorney General, looking out for the most vulnerable in our communities, children and families. We have our offices right here in Medford that do very important work in this area. Students, student debt should not be the obligation of a lifetime. I'm working towards reducing student debt and making it possible for young people, and when they get older, not to have that debt. And of course, elders. I think I'm probably most proud that I now have an elder abuse unit that's really going to tackle the epidemic of elder abuse in our state. It's absolutely inconceivable that we could have this kind of conduct going on, kind of be under the radar, and we're going to bring it out into the open, and we're going to make sure that people are held to account for what they do to our seniors in this state.
Good to see you. Thanks so much
Very
for being here.
nice to see you. Thank you so much.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.